Have you ever wondered how your small daily expenses can add up over time? Imagine this. You're living a fast-paced life, constantly on the move, always on the go. You're like Naomi, a young professional thriving in the hustle and bustle of the modern world. Naomi enjoys the conveniences that our advanced society offers. She buys her morning coffee from a high-street cafe, orders takeout meals when she's too tired to cook, and uses ride-sharing services instead of public transport. She thinks of these as minor expenses, mere drops in the ocean of her income. But let's pause for a moment and examine the reality of these seemingly insignificant outlays. That morning coffee Naomi buys. It's not just a mere cup of joe. It's a concoction of finely ground beans, heated water, a splash of milk, a sprinkle of sugar, all served in a disposable cup. It's the barista's time and expertise. It's the cafe's overhead, rent, utilities, licenses. It's the cost of convenience of having a steaming cup of coffee handed to you as you rush to work. Now consider the takeout meals. They're not just food, they're the ingredients, the chef's skills, the packaging, the delivery service. It's the price of saving time, of not having to shop, cook and clean. It's the cost of being able to enjoy a meal without the fuss of preparation. And let's not forget the ride-sharing services. They're not just a ride, they're the driver's time, the vehicle's upkeep, the fuel, the insurance. It's the cost of personal comfort, of not having to deal with crowded buses or trains, of being able to travel from point A to point B with ease. All of these conveniences, these small daily expenses, they add up. Each cup of coffee, each takeout meal, each ride. They're not just drops in the ocean. They're ripples that spread, growing wider and wider until they become waves. And these waves, they erode the shore of our financial stability bit by bit, day by day. We may not realize it, but like Naomi, we're paying a high price for convenience. Let's dive into Naomi's daily routine to see how these costs add up. Naomi is a young professional who starts her day with a burst of caffeine and a bite of breakfast. She's a regular at her local coffee shop where she orders a latte and a pastry, a small luxury she allows herself each morning. The barista knows her order by heart, and the warm, frothy latte coupled with a flaky, buttery pastry provides a comforting start to her day. Now, let's break it down. The latte costs around £3. The pastry about £2. That's £5 right there, spent before the day has even properly begun. It might not seem like much in isolation, but remember, this is a daily expenditure. Multiply it by 5 for a typical work week, and you're looking at £25. From the coffee shop, Naomi hails a rideshare to get to work. She prefers it over public transport for its convenience and comfort. It's a 10-minute ride, costing around £6 each way. Again, it might not seem like a hefty sum, but it's a daily cost. That's a total of £30 for the week just on commuting to work. So, let's add it up. The daily coffee and breakfast cost, coupled with the daily rideshare, equals £11 a day. Multiply that by 5 and you've got £55 a week. That's £220 a month, or £2,640 a year, just on morning conveniences. And we haven't even gotten to lunch, or the ride home, or any of Naomi's other daily expenses. It's easy to dismiss these small, seemingly insignificant amounts when you're swiping your card or tapping your phone. But as you can see, they do add up, and quite significantly. Naomi's morning convenience comes with a price, and it's more than just a few dollars. Naomi's spending doesn't stop at her morning routine. Let's delve into the depths of her work-related and leisure expenses that, quite like a cheeky chameleon, are often overlooked in their camouflage amidst daily life. At work, Naomi prefers to buy lunch from the nearby cafe rather than packing her own. A seemingly innocent choice, but when we break it down, the costs begin to reveal themselves. A sandwich with a side of salad and a drink on average costs her £10 a day. Multiply that by 5 for the work week, and suddenly we're looking at £50 just for lunch. Then there's the occasional food delivery when she's working late or too tired to cook. It's an easy, convenient choice, yes, but it's also an added expense. Each delivery costs around £15 and she orders about twice a week. So that's an additional £30, just like that. Now, let's not forget about leisure. After a long day at work, Naomi loves to unwind with her favorite shows and movies. She's subscribed to a handful of streaming services: Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney+, the works. Each service charges around £10 a month. With 4 services, that's £40 a month. Add the costs, and what do we find? Lunch expenses at £200 a month, food delivery at £120, and streaming services at £40. That's a grand total of £360 a month. And remember, these are just a few examples of the seemingly small expenses that Naomi incurs in her daily life. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently bad with spending money on convenience or leisure, but it's crucial to be aware of how these little expenses can add up over time. As you can see, Naomi's small expenses are starting to pile up. So the next time you're about to tap on that food delivery app or add another streaming service to your list, take a moment. Reflect on the true cost of convenience and decide whether it's worth it for you. Now, let's tally up Naomi's monthly expenses. Naomi, like many of us, enjoys the convenience of modern life, but let's take a closer look at what that convenience truly costs. Every morning, Naomi buys a large latte and a croissant, her preferred breakfast on the go. This seemingly small indulgence costs her around £5 each day. Over the course of a month, that's roughly £150. Then there's her daily commute. Naomi opts for the comfort of ride-sharing services instead of public transportation, which costs her around £20 each day. By month's end, that's approximately £600. Let's not forget about Naomi's lunch. She often orders food delivery to her workplace, which is about £10 per meal. Again, over a month, that's an additional £250. Now consider her leisure expenses. Naomi subscribes to several online streaming platforms for her entertainment, which amounts to approximately £50 monthly. So, if we add all of these up, Naomi's monthly cost for these conveniences is around £1,050. That's a significant sum, don't you think? Now imagine if Naomi chose to cut back on some of these services. Let's say she starts making coffee at home, switches to public transportation, and packs her lunch more often. These changes could potentially save her over £700 every month. And if she invests that saved money wisely, it could grow into a considerable amount over time. That's the power of small changes. And the beauty of it is, these changes don't necessarily mean giving up on all conveniences. It's about making smarter choices and finding a balance between comfort and cost. The cost of convenience for Naomi each month is staggering when you stop to think about it. And it could be the same for many of us. So let's take a moment to reflect on our spending habits and consider if we too could make some changes. After all, a little bit of inconvenience today could mean a whole lot of savings tomorrow. But what does this mean for Naomi in the long run? If Naomi continues to tread down the path of convenience without any second thought, the financial impact could be considerable. Just like a drip of water can fill a bucket over time, these seemingly insignificant expenses can add up and create a sizable dent in her savings. Imagine this. If Naomi spends an average of £20 daily on convenience, that's around £600 a month. Multiply that by 12 and you get a staggering £7,200 a year. That's the price of a decent used car or a lavish vacation. Over a decade, this adds up to a whopping £72,000. This is the cost of convenience in the long run. But let's not paint a picture of doom and gloom here. There's always room for change, and it begins with small steps. Naomi can start by brewing her own coffee at home, saving her a pretty penny. Instead of ordering takeout every other day, she can try her hand at cooking. Not only will this save money, but it can also be a fun and therapeutic activity. She can also consider walking or cycling to nearby places instead of always relying on a taxi. This way, she's not only saving money, but also contributing to the betterment of our environment. It's not about completely giving up on convenience, but rather finding a balance. Think of it as a convenience budget, much like a diet. You can still indulge, but in moderation. Remember, every pound saved is a pound earned, and these small savings can accumulate into a substantial amount over time. These changes might seem insignificant at first, but the impact they can have on one's financial health in the long run is nothing short of remarkable. The cost of convenience can be high, but with some small changes, we can take control of our spending and our future.